This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, Countdown Dunedin staff have returned to their workplace for the first time since this week's multiple stabbing. The first CEO of Otago's new business advocacy organisation, Business South, is looking forward to the role. And a spectacular and remote southern waterfall is now becoming more accessible. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Sophie Morris. Tonight we continue on with updates about a stabbing at Dunedin's supermarket Countdown which left 4 people seriously injured. All 4 remain in Dunedin Hospital today, 3 in serious condition.
Following Monday's devastating knife attack, about 30 staff returned to Countdown Dunedin Central today for a blessing of the premises. The blessing was done by local Kaumatua Hata Timu, and the supermarket remains closed until further notice. Southern District Commander Superintendent Paul Basham says 2 police officers happened to be at the supermarket on Monday at the time of the attack, and lives were saved by first aid applied at the scene.
The actions of those 2 officers, and indeed all of the people involved, the Countdown staff and members of the public, helped to de-escalate the situation and minimise any further harm. Our first responders were on the scene very quickly, and I've received feedback that indicates they provided a high standard of first aid that almost certainly saved the lives of some of the victims.
Dunedin Hospital's Emergency Department Clinical Director Dr Richard Stevenson says the incident affected staff on a personal level and they responded to the situation admirably.
In Dunedin Hospital, whilst we train and practice to respond to this sort of event, it nonetheless is a very challenging and stressful time for all staff and departments in the hospital. We're all also members of the Dunedin community and are shocked and saddened by this incident on a personal level. We would like to say a huge thank you to all the staff involved in yesterday's emergency response. We received several critically unwell patients into the emergency department at very short notice, and I am proud of the job our hospital team did in caring for them. There was an excellent hospital response at a hospital-wide level, with teams from the emergency department, surgery, intensive care and anaesthetics providing immediate care to the patients in the emergency department before moving them on to the operating theatres and to the intensive care unit.
All 4 stab victims remain in hospital, among them a Countdown manager.
3 people remained in a serious condition, but we were pleased to say that they are stable and improving, with none still requiring intensive care. 1 patient remains in a moderate condition.
The alleged offender appeared in the Dunedin District Court where his lawyer confirmed no formal mental health reports were being sought. The man, who was of no fixed abode according to court documents, faces 4 charges of attempted murder. He was remanded in custody until his next appearance in June. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Dunedin's Wildlife Hospital Trust is asking the Dunedin City Council for nearly $100,000 a year in its submission to the Council's 10-year plan hearings. The Trust is concerned some animals will go untreated if substantial funding isn't secured. Wildlife Hospital Trust Manager Jordana White says $97,700 a year will fund the position of Hospital Director Dr. Lisa Adjula. Jordana White says more than 75 species have been brought to the hospital and doesn't want any animal to miss out on life-saving treatment. 160 years of history is set to close up shop when the Otago Chamber of Commerce ceases to exist. The Chamber and Otago Southland Employers Association have merged into Business South, and the new organisation's first leader has been named.
Walking into the Otago Chamber of Commerce office, the inaugural Chief Executive Officer of Business South, Mike Collins, meets his predecessor for the first time and says he's looking forward to the challenges of leading a new organisation.
Yeah, well, look, it's pretty exciting, and I've done a lot of work around bringing different cultures together under a kind of similar purpose. So I just think this is a really great opportunity. When you look at the history to the businesses, they've got a common purpose, and it makes good sense. And I think the members have kind of sent that message as well, that they see the logic behind the merger.
The Chamber of Commerce was founded in Otago in 1861 and has a rich history of delivering local advocacy, education and training, events, networking and more. The Otago Southland Employers Association was founded a few years later in 1890 and has provided employer advisory services, training programs, employment relations and health and safety advice. Collins admits merging the two entities could be tough at times, but says much of the groundwork has already been done.
So I think having that common understanding around the why and where we're going is really, really important. There will be challenges on the way, but I think once we can show the value add, and there's a lot of great work already going on, so it's not actually starting from ground zero. There's years and years of history.
The previous Otago Chamber of Commerce CEO Dougal McGowan left the position with a couple of weeks' notice at the start of the year. Operations Manager Nikki Aldridge Masters was appointed to the acting CEO position to cover the time while the leader of the new organisation was found and now appointed. She wishes Mike Collins all the very best of luck with the role.
And I hope what that means is for Mike, when he does come on board, that he's got a really experienced and solid management team that will be there to support him in that leadership.
Only having been in the top job for a short time, she was hesitant to give Collins any advice.
It's going to be quite an exciting time for him, a challenging time, but from what I've seen and heard about Mike, he's going to lead us in a really solid way.
Mike Collins says he respectfully acknowledges the history of both organisations and is looking forward to combining the depth of skills and abilities both teams bring to the merged organisation set to represent business in the South. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A person has been taken to hospital with serious injuries after their car went down a bank between Lee Stream and Outram near Dunedin. Police say officers responded to a report at 8:50 a.m. today of a car over a bank on State Highway 87 near Holland Road. An officer at the scene told the ODT the vehicle struck black ice. St John Communications advisor Jared Campbell says the patient, who was the sole occupant of the car, was taken to Dunedin Hospital by ambulance with serious injuries. A waterfall hidden in a remote part of the Hokonui Hills in Southland has now become more accessible. The Makarewa Falls can now be walked to after volunteers from the Winton Rotary Club put in hundreds of hours to mark the track.
I'll now declare the Makarewa Falls track open.
Former Prime Minister Sir Bill English cuts the ribbon to officially open a marked track to the remote Makarewa Falls in the Hokonui Hills near Winton. The route crosses a farm owned by Lindsay Middleton, who was just a boy when his father guided visitors along the 2-hour walk to the falls.
There was no track, he just went through the bush, and he knew where he was going because he was possum hunting in there most of the year. And I just tagged along behind and made sure everybody got out.
Middleton's been at his farm at the end of Mandeville Road for 70 years, and he's happy to let people access the falls, which are further along on Department of Conservation managed land.
People can just go on their own now. More than welcome to.
The route has been marked out and maintained by volunteers from the Winton Rotary Club.
It's been quite a big project. It's been going on for quite a while. There's quite a group of us working in there.
People should allow over 5 hours for the round trip to the Makarewa Falls. Near Winton, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, we meet the Central Otago artist inspired by her environment.
at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole Map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Ah, TV, our favourite babysitter. But it can be tough keeping up with what our tamariki are watching. Luckily, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has made some smart changes to the classification labels. Ooh! Plus changes to the time of day certain rated shows will air, and awesome new parental lock features, meaning your babysitter's job is safe. Find out more at safeviewing.co.nz.
Welcome back. A landslip that partially blocked a highway near Cromwell earlier this week is unlikely to cause any long-term traffic issues. The slip comes after a larger one blocked the same stretch of road last July.
The New Zealand Land Transport Agency says this recent slip near the bridge across Lake Dunstan by Cromwell is unlikely to cause any long-term traffic disruption. The agency says a small rockfall near Deadman's Point blocked the southbound lane of State Highway 8 on Monday night after 2 days of heavy rain. The slip was cleared early yesterday and geotechnical inspections of the site were carried out with a manual traffic management and stop-go system in place, but the road remained open. Last July, a larger slip occurred along the same stretch of road. That slip measured roughly 30 metres from top to bottom and was made up of schist, earth, tussock and other vegetation. Helicopters were used to drop water to help flush and control last year's slip. In Cromwell, the South Today.
A Central Otago-based artist is finding her artworks are being influenced by her surrounding environment. Jenny Hill, who moved about 14 years ago from Taranaki to Cromwell, says the nearby mountains are beginning to feature in her works.
When artist Jenny Hill moved down from Taranaki with her husband to run their Lochaburn vineyard, located halfway between Cromwell and Luggett, she was warned that the central Otago landscape would influence her art.
Another friend who was an artist said to me, "Oh, do you do landscapes?" And I says, "Oh, no, not really. Nature is inspiration, but I tend to be fairly abstract and that." And she said, "Well, just you wait. Those mountains are going to get under your skin." And she was dead right.
After having studied many different art techniques, Hill has specialised in encaustic painting, which uses hot wax to encase collages of everything from photos to printed materials, as well as objects she finds outdoors.
They've got leaves in them as well, and that's the encaustics in particular. Anything that's dried, you can put dried leaves and plants and things, as long as they're flat. So. So for that, and always at the top, of course, is the mountain and the skies.
Hill says she enjoys the trial and error process of finding out what might work being stuck together.
I love exploring, I love making mistakes and then finding that there's a use for them where I can add them in.
With her family now grown up, she says she's at the right stage in life to really commit to her creative career.
I've come across quite a few women who have come across me doing art exhibitions and demonstrations who were in that same position, is that they've now got to that stage, they've put it aside for family, career or whatever, and suddenly realised that they'd really love to get back in it.
Hill is running a workshop teaching hot wax techniques for beginners at the Central Art Space in Lake Hawea next weekend. Near Cromwell, the South Today.
After the break on the South Today, a secretive bird is spotted at Tomahawk Lagoon, and we check out the weather.
Hi, Lindsay here from Alex Campbell Menswear. We've opened another pop-up store in Invercargill. It's for a limited time. We're in D Street, 201, right beside the Lone Star. Come and check us out. We've got some fantastic deals for you. We've got moleskins, we've got every sort of shirt, worn ones, work ones, business, merino knitwear, jeans, trousers, you name it, the list goes on. It's such a big deal. Come and see us.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Alex Campbell Menswear, pop-up store, D Street, Invercargill.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
Welcome back. The marsh crake, a small, well-camouflaged bird seldom seen near Dunedin, has recently been reported in the Tomahawk Lagoon area. Experts say the secretive bird can be hard to see, being adept at hiding among raupo reeds. Dunedin youth worker and wildlife photographer Fiona Gill took this photograph last weekend. The Department of Conservation says the recent sightings show the high biodiversity values of the Tomahawk Lagoon as part of a network of wetland areas used by nomadic birds. People wishing to see the protected birds should remain quiet as possible as they approach and should leave their dogs at home. And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. Countdown Dunedin staff have returned to their workplace for the first time since this week's multiple stabbings. The first CEO of Otago's new business advocacy organisation Business South is looking forward to the role. And a spectacular and remote southern waterfall is now becoming more accessible. Now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome, Hayden.
Good evening, Sophie. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Good. Lots happening today. As we've seen already, the big day for the Countdown staff in Dunedin. A lot of them heading back today. The shop's still closed indefinitely, but a bit of a blessing there today after Monday's horrific events. And we've talked to the union representing a lot of those workers around the issue of security and what's going to happen in future at that supermarket and indeed other supermarkets. So plenty more to come on that awful issue, and obviously our thoughts are all still with the people who are in hospital after being injured too, so our fingers are crossed for them.
Yes.
In the Southern District Health Board, well, it's never far away from the news, and today was another big day for the SDHB. They have officially issued an SOS, really, calling on other hospitals to help out. The cancer waiting list is growing and growing, so they are going to be calling in help from other hospitals, could be anywhere in New Zealand basically, and southern patients could find themselves in Timaru, Christchurch, Auckland, Wellington to get screening, to get the care they need. So big issue that's not going to go away in a hurry, and we've got some reaction from affected parties about what that would mean. I guess it's a good news, bad news situation. It might mean a member of somebody's family getting seen on time, but it might mean them having to travel some distance. So that should be interesting. And a really quirky yarn about two enterprising local women who have decided to make alcohol, I think gin and vodka, but that's only part of the story. What they're using is a waste product, including bread, raspberry buns, all sorts of interesting sort of bakery waste goods from supermarkets. They're turning them into alcohol. So it's a really interesting yarn. I think people will be intrigued at the process by which they make that liquor.
Right, cool.
Big night for the literary community tonight. It's the Ockham New Zealand Book Awards tonight, which is a huge night for those authors, and we will have a full report in tomorrow's ODT, including if we had any local success. Rob Kidd, our books editor, will be handling that. And art and science collide in our arts page. This is an exhibition involving art and science, and some really interesting pieces of work that will make people stop and look and think. So, and in sport, the Highlanders announcing their team today. No Shannon Frizzell, so we've got the Highlanders CEO explaining what the situation there is with Shannon. So, plenty of stuff to read tomorrow, I think. Sophie.
Righty, thank you, Hayden. And time now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with a southern view, a sunset over Dunedin this week. Looking at the situation, widespread frost tonight ahead of a sunny clear day right across the region tomorrow, but with chilly temperatures. A changeable period of southwesterlies and showers coming up for the weekend and early next week. Starting off at the northwest of the South Island, sunshine here with 14 degrees in Greymouth and 13 in Westport. To the northeast, mostly sunny here with 13 in both Nelson and Blenheim. To Canterbury, sunshine for the region with 12 degrees in Kaikoura, Christchurch and Ashburton. Looking at the southern towns, light winds and fine conditions with 13 degrees for the Catlins, Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore. Travelling to the southern lakes, fine conditions and light winds as well here with 13 degrees in Alexandra and 12 degrees for Queenstown, Wanaka and Te Anau. To the northern towns, similar here as well with 14 degrees in Timaru and 13 in Oamaru, Twizel and Omarama. In Dunedin, fine and frosty tonight with a low of -2. Fine and sunny tomorrow with light to moderate northeast winds developing, a high of 13 and a low of 5. Fine with high cloud on Friday, a few sunny periods at times, fresh breezy northeasterly winds, a high of 12 and a low of 8. And in Invercargill, fine and frosty tonight with a low of -2. Fine and sunny tomorrow, rather cold with light variable winds. Frost again tomorrow night, a high of 13 and a low of -1. Mild and northerly winds freshening on Friday with high cloud increasing. Some rain developing from evening with strong gusty winds, a high of 16 and a low of 9. That's all for our news this Wednesday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz or follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.